You got a cold?
I do. I'm sorry. I'll try not to sniffle in the mic.
Well, I tell you, my program director's been sick for 6 weeks.
Whoa.
Yeah, I tried to stay in his office, and we tried to make him.
Oh.
Got that taken care of. He sounds really bad.
My kids always share. Oh, thank the Lord, it's not that bad. I just woke up this morning and sounded like Darth Vader. I don't know. My kids literally are always... I went on a field trip with him on Friday, and the kids were like snotty and touching, and you want to embrace them and love them, but you know in the back of your mind, you're like, they're sharing something with me.
I used to bring my daughter up to visit when, anyway, long story short, she would come to visit relatives, and I'm like, why does she always get sick when she comes around?
Right.
And it's just introduction of different kinds of germs in different families. It's not like, they're carriers. But
Yeah.
They're carriers.
Absolutely. Yeah. How long do we have? Is it
25 minutes.
Oh, good. Okay.
Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Okay. What are we going to talk about today? That's basically how I'm going to do it.
I love it, and I'll just take it from there.
Fabulous.
Yep. And then you add your 2 cents whenever.
Yeah.
You're normally really, really great, obviously. So, you are Heidi Aiken of the B93.7.
Stop. I'm loving it. Well, good morning. This is Heidi Aiken with Tim Wadsworth, who is a youth pastor at North Hills Church in Greenville. Glad to have you with us.
Yes, good to be back.
This is kind of a regular feature.
I love it.
I do too.
I keep bothering you to come back.
Well, not just that, but we have listeners who are like, tell us more, because usually it's about relationships.
Yep.
It's definitely about youth, as you are the youth pastor.
Yep.
Children, stages of growth, how adults deal with them, how important mentors are in their life. We touched on a little bit of everything. What I really like today is the topic of middle schoolers. Yeah,
we're going to talk about 7 undeniable characteristics of most middle schoolers. And I'm going to put an emphasis on most, because that would be very unfair to just holistically say this is every single middle schooler. But for the most part, we're going to understand our demographic and just understand their wiring. So if you're a coach, a mentor, a parent, a grandparent, I hope this is helpful information for you. For the most part, if you hang around a middle schooler, none of this is going to be like mind-boggling things.
It's not going to be a big surprise.
It's almost going to be something that you're going to say, oh, that is true. I have noticed this in that 12-year-old or in that 14-year-old. And I'm hoping that people can take away just something very small that they can help love that middle schooler, encourage them to see growth and maturity, but also have patience with them. So the analogy I use is when a 2-year-old throws food from their high chair, or a 1-year-old, that's what 1-year-olds do. Mm-hmm. It's undeniable. It's going to happen. But if they're 7 years old and they're still throwing food, right, and hopefully they're not sitting in a high chair, but if they're still doing things a 1-year-old does, that's unacceptable. So maybe if you're listening to this and you have a high schooler, even say a very young college student, and they're still doing these things, I would use the language, it's unacceptable. But for a middle schooler, this is something that's undeniable. It's going to happen. So I've got 7 things that we can quickly fly through, and hopefully there'll be some good food for thought in here on how to better love. Probably 11 years old to about 14 years old is what's going to fall into this category. Male and female, although you'll tend to see this more in males. Only because I've just noticed in my time that girls are much more mature than boys. And
sometimes they open themselves up more and earlier to conversation. Yeah. And they still might like to hug and sit on mom's lap and dad's lap, whereas the boys are like, oh, I'm too old for this.
Yeah. Well,
cool.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. I've noticed too that girls are just ready to get to high school quicker than most boys. My brother has girls. I have all boys. The difference in watching them grow up has just been astonishing. Like, his girls are so smart. They were talking sooner. They were reading sooner. Like, my boys are like cavemen over there, picking their nose so hard that their nose is bleeding, right? And my brother's daughters are over there like doing mathematics. And it's like the difference in boys and girls is crazy. And it's also very evident in middle school as well. And it's such a changing season for them. Like, I look at 7th graders, pictures of them from 7th grade, and then when they enter high school around 9th grade, and they look like 2 different humans.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the same with toddlers, right? Like a toddler at 2 years old and 3 years old, they look like two different human beings. I would say the toddler stage and the middle school stage are very similar in the fact that so much change is happening. And we're actually going to talk about that in one of my points. Here's point number one. This is something you need to know is undeniable about middle schoolers. They will be intensely interested in you. I know that's going to sound really weird. For the most part, this won't happen in the category of parents. We'll talk about why that is in just a second. But if you're like a PE coach, or you're a science teacher, or you're someone that you know you're going to interact with middle schoolers, don't be annoyed by the fact that they're going to ask you so many questions and be so interested in you. So as adults, sometimes we just get very annoyed by that. I forget what the statistics are of how many questions an 11-year-old will ask. And so I've noticed in my job, they love to pick my brain. They just love to know, like, hey, Tim, do you have a wife? And I go, yeah, of course I have a wife. Have you not met Rachel? And they'll say, oh, okay, what is she like? What does she like to do? Like, they love asking questions. I've noticed they're like a sponge. Like, they literally are trying to consume as much information because they're really curious. Like, they're starting to understand the world is much bigger than they thought it was when they were in elementary school.
They're trying to figure out how they fit into the scheme of things?
Kind of, yeah.
And why don't they talk to their parents about that? Why don't they ask their parents those questions?
Yes.
Because we would love to have a conversation with our kids about, oh, I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah, so that's my second point out of the 7. We tend to see an undeniable characteristic of middle schoolers is they push their parents away. Middle schoolers want freedom, and so they kind of have this line drawn in the sand that their parents want to restrict their freedom. That might be true, it might not be true. Every family unit is just so different, but the way their brains are wired, they're really just wanting to go more freedom, more responsibility, and they think that if they talk too much, that they might give information that could backfire on them. Like, yeah, me and my friends, we walked to the ice cream store yesterday.
And you're like, what? On that busy road?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. And parents have the authority to restrict the freedom, where if it's a PE coach or a science teacher or whoever, they would say, your parents let you do that? And they'll probably say, oh yeah, all the time. Which is another point that I have, kind of jumping back up to the list. They exaggerate all the time and sometimes lie.
Yeah.
All the time. So middle schoolers are going to be very interested in you. They're going to be very interested in how the world works. They're going to be very interested in just knowing how to connect the dots. And we need to be patient. We need to be loving with them and give them legit answers to their questions. So sometimes as you get to know these middle schoolers, they're going to ask questions that maybe they don't need to know 100%.
Right.
But I think just based off of you knowing them and having a relationship with them, it'll give you the wisdom on how to answer it. And I say, go for it. So, especially if you're a parent and a kid asks a question, I say answer it fully, depending on exactly what it is.
Right.
Be vulnerable with them. If you've messed up, tell them where you've messed up. Like, that's so big for an 8th grader to hear that some of their idols or their heroes or their people that they look up to have messed up.
But as a parent, aren't you feeling vulnerable yourself? Because if I admit that I made that mistake, then they're going to use that against me.
You're exactly right. Yeah. And I think there's incredible strength in weakness. So I know this is crazy. What I remember the most from my relationship with my dad was he apologized to me all the time. Now I know he's going to hear that and go, "Great, I'm such a mess up."
Mistakes. I have to apologize all the time.
Man, exactly.
But it's not like that.
No, like that meant so much to me that my dad, and sometimes like getting eye level is huge. So that might mean like a father, if you're like 6'8", and you've got a little, your daughter is little, she's in the 6th grade, to get on a knee, look her in the eye and say, "Hey, Dad messed up. I shouldn't have spoken to you like that." Or, "Hey, Dad shouldn't have flicked the bird at that person at the red light." Like, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Be humble. Have the humility to say, "Hey, I'm sorry. I messed up." And that's not really the way we should handle our business. They'll remember that much more than this do what I say or do what I do Or what is the saying?
Yeah.
It's
oh my goodness, it was so
do what I
funny.
say, not as I do.
Right.
That's it.
It's so funny because I was thinking of the same thing when you asked me that question. I remember talking to my daughter, and I was so mad at her, and I said, "Don't do anything I say, and don't watch what I do." And I just remember, literally, I just looked at her, and I just shook my head, and I literally went into the garage and sat in the dark on the step, thinking I need to maintain my patience, and I need to maintain my composure, because as soon as they see you lose your cool, they know what buttons to push.
Yes.
And so I went back in, and I told her how I felt and apologized for that craziness I had just spouted out.
Yeah.
And we chuckle about that to this day, because it's like, okay, don't do anything I say and don't watch anything I do. No logic.
Oh, well, you know what?
I was upset, and that's what happens. You get, that emotion gets the best of you as a parent and mentor, whomever.
That's an opportunity, though.
Right, but you're not thinking clearly.
I know.
In what the child should be learning.
Well, I think there was wisdom in what you did. You stepped away from the situation.
And hid in the garage.
You know how many times I've hid in the garage and thought I'm the world's worst parent.
Oh my gosh.
No, like I'm honest. Like, we have a youth group of about 250, 300 kids.
Wow, you got a lot of children.
And it's like, why can I disciple them so well and have it together, but with my own 2 children, I feel like the biggest failure. So I think there's opportunity in just admitting your weakness. Like, I think there's something good about thinking you're a quote-unquote failure of a parent. I know that's going to sound weird. Most of the time, those parents that have that posture are the ones I want to listen to and the ones that I want to follow. Most of the ones that think they have their act together don't.
Yeah.
And that's the blind leading the blind. So I think if you have this posture of, hey, son or daughter, hey, honey, I messed up. I'm sorry. Or back to kind of the original purpose of they love to ask questions. They're very curious. Don't water it down. Again, depending on what it is. And no one knows this kid better than the person who has the relationship. But they're not looking for a watered down answer to their question. And I think capitalize on it. So you could say, sometimes when people ask me questions, the greatest way I can help them in that question is by asking better questions. So I know that's going to sound like an oxymoron. You ask a question, you respond with a question, but sometimes they'll ask one and I'll say, that is actually a really good question. Why are you asking that?
Exactly.
Yeah, or I love this one. Tell me more. Tell me more about what you're talking about. And they'll say, well, okay, so yesterday, and then they will just go on and on. And we need to be good listeners, and I think we need to help them through the muck and really help them understand the main reason why they're asking this question. So that's number 1. They will always be interested in you. Let them be interested in that. I think that's great. Help them, coach them. Again, the goal is to not raise children. Our goal is to raise men and women. We are to coach them into adulthood. Know that they always exaggerate and they tend to be liars. Okay, don't knock them over the head. Help them understand. They haven't been on planet Earth long enough to understand the ramifications of not really understanding that truth is really important. I'm 33 years old, and I'm an exaggerator. I'll tell a story, and then when I'm done, my wife will look at me and go, that gets funnier and funnier every time you tell that story.
The fish story
gets
bigger and bigger and bigger.
I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, last time there was 8 people in the room. This time there was 15. So I think no matter what age you are, we have the opportunity to exaggerate. I think with them, they want to push their limits and see what they can get away with. So that's when we put our arm around them and we help coach them, and we don't call them a liar. We don't call them, they don't need to find their identity in what they're struggling with just at that age. We need to come alongside and coach them and say, hey, why when I've heard that story 2 times, why is it different? There again, you're asking questions, you're helping them understand, almost like the little boy that cries wolf. Help them understand that, but just know that comes along with the territory of a middle schooler. So don't roll your eyes, don't walk away, don't think they're annoying. Just go with it. Third thing, and I love this one, that is undeniable with middle schoolers, they love YouTube. They love YouTube. Listen to these statistics. According to many research studies, 80 to 95% of Generation Z seeks advice through YouTube channels and videos. It goes on to say that most searched videos are about real stories, day in the life videos, behind the scene videos, or how-to videos.
My goodness, and we're leaving, there's a lot out there that they shouldn't be looking at and getting advice from.
Yep. So it kind of goes back to, if they're asking you the question, you now have the opportunity to answer it the way you want to, because if they don't feel like they've been satisfied with it, guess where they're going?
Yep.
They're going to the internet 100% of the time. And so I think you need to be aware of what they're watching. I think you need to go back and look at their search history and not go after them and attack them and say, why were you watching this? They're curious. They want to know. But you, when you're eating breakfast with them, with having that knowledge in the back of your head, that's when you get to ask good questions and understand why were they watching that video to begin with. Mm-hmm. And I think you need to almost be a little detective. Don't come and accuse. Don't come and attack them for just kind of the way that they're wired. I think we need to say, okay, why are they watching this video? Where are they trying to learn, grow, and mature in ways that I'm just maybe not doing that for them?
And what's going on in their life that they need to ask those questions?
I love it.
How can I help them through it?
Yeah. So, and maybe for some middle schoolers that's not true. Maybe it's in a Teen Vogue magazine or whatever the case may be. As coaches, mentors, parents, grandparents, we need to be aware what our kids are running to figure stuff out.
And you mentioned that search history.
Yep.
If you don't know what Tim, and we're talking about Tim Wadsworth, who is a youth pastor at North Hills Church, if you're not sure how to check that on a child's computer or phone, find out.
Yes.
You'll be surprised.
Oh, absolutely. And let me just encourage any adult who's listening who is not tech savvy, there's no shame with going to Greenville Tech and taking one of the classes that will just help you with simple things that might not be simple to you. You don't have to shout it out to the world. That my mom has done this. So she got an iPhone, and she was literally calling me every 15 minutes with a question.
Yeah.
Well, I said, Mom, I found this class for you at Greenville Tech. Go and take it. You will learn more in this 30 minutes than I can ever help you with. And it's hands-on. There's other people in the class. And she took it, and now she knows the iPhone better than I do. I think there's a lot to be said. A lot of parents are PC computer parents. Well, the generation coming up is everything Apple, everything Macintosh. Parents don't understand iPhones or Mac laptops or whatever, so they tend to just check out. And honestly, to anyone that is shepherding kids, that's unacceptable. You've got to know that technology better than they do.
And if that means going to the parents of one of their friends who happen to maybe be more tech savvy, sit and ask them.
Yes.
I need your help. What are you looking at? What are you watching? How are you watching your child with technology?
Yes.
Teach that to me.
Even go to the kid and ask, because that makes them feel important. Wow, I know something you don't. Yeah, I'll show you how to look. And they will sell each other out. They really will. They'll say, did you know that this app can do this? And the latest app I've let my parents know about is this calculator app. I forget what it's called. It'll come to my head in just a second, but it looks like a calculator, and you pull it up, you punch in the code, and it opens up this secret vault of pictures and videos.
That they're sending and receiving.
Yep, and it's not in their normal camera roll that mom and dad know how to access. So there's all these apps that are just really, really crazy and being secretive.
Right.
So parents, you've got to know that there's no excuse to say, well, I'm not used to it. Or if you gave your kid an iPhone, if you gave your kid a computer, you need to know what you have given them.
There's too many things they can see and be a part of that they aren't ready for.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay. This is another big thing we've got to know. It's undeniable characteristic of middle schoolers, and this one is going to be obvious, but I don't think we take advantage of it the way that we should. It's what their friends think matter more than anything else. What their friends think is going to influence them more than we can ever imagine. So 2 things that parents need to be doing. You need to know who your kids' friends are. Now, back in the day, I know I'm not that old, but back in the day, my friends were only my friends because our parents were friends. I remember my dad would say, hey, we're going over to Clay and Debbie Peak's house for dinner. And I would say, well, who are they? They'd go, they're our friends. Well, what am I going to do? Well, they have a boy the same age as you. His name is Daniel. You're going to hang out with Daniel. Okay. Well, Daniel was the best man at my wedding. He's still my best friend. He was my friend because my parents had friends, and these were their kids. I feel like culture's really changed with this. If you sit down with most parents, they'll know the names, but they don't really know who their kids' friends are. And they don't know those kids' friends' parents. And I think as a parent, you've got to know who your children are friends with. And if there's a friend that is bad news, you've got to help your kid understand why that friend is bad news. And if your middle schooler doesn't have the maturity to kick this friend to the curb, guess what?
You got to do it.
You got to do it for him.
Yeah, Mom told me a long time ago, show me who your friends are, I'll tell you what kind of person you are.
Absolutely.
And it rubs off. You could have the best kid in the world hanging in the wrong circumstance, and they could get caught up in something that they have
You're right on.
They're not mature enough to deal with.
Absolutely.
So you take care of it for them.
Love it. Okay, real quick, we're going to end this in a bang. The sixth thing is they are incredibly insecure about what is happening to their bodies. Let's just be honest. They're changing a lot. They're hitting puberty. Mm-hmm. There are things going on with their bodies that they do not know should be happening. They didn't even know this could happen. There's a lot. And there are so many parents who bury their heads in the sand when it comes to this because they're just afraid to have an awkward conversation with their kid. Deep down, middle schoolers want that conversation.
You need guidance.
Well, yeah, but they're not going to come to their mom or dad and say, Mom, Dad, I'm ready to know, how are babies made?
Yeah.
Right? Like that, they want to die inside, but they need you to take the initiative. They need you to be the ones that man up and have conversations with them. Let them know the changes that are happening are good things. These feelings and emotions that you're having now that you used to not have are great things. And we just don't really talk about that now they're in 7th grade and they're boy crazy, but in 5th grade, just 2 years ago, they could not have cared less about the boy, but in just 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
In adult world, 2 years is nothing. Mm-hmm. In their world, 2 years is just night and day.
A lot going on.
Yeah, so is really, I would leave this to a parent, even if you're a coach or a mentor or you fill the shoes of something else that is helpful to the kid. This needs to be mom and dad. Now, if mom and dad aren't in the picture, someone's got to fill the shoes. But if you're listening to this and you're saying, hey, my kid's 14 and we've never had these talks, what in the world are you waiting for?
Well, are you going to come back and help us with how to have the talk
with your
kids?
Yes.
Whether it's about dating or how their body's changing or how to deal with someone who may be pressuring you in a certain way, there's got to be a way that a parent can feel more comfortable about how to talk with their child.
I love that. That's going to be my homework assignment for the next month, is to come back with that and talk a little bit more about how we can help them with the hard conversations.
We're talking with Tim Wadsworth, who is the youth pastor at North Hills Church. Contact information, please.
Yeah. Okay, my email address is timw@northhillschurch.com. If you want to learn more about our ministry and when we meet and what we can offer as far as partnering with parents, go to alivestudentministry.com. And you can literally find everything there. We even have a parent tab with helpful resources. We have all the videos of our teaching that we do on Sunday nights. So I hope parents are saying, well, what are you teaching my kid? I'm so glad you asked. Go to our website. Click on the media tab. Every Sunday night lesson is there that you can listen to, and then you can decide whether that's something that you want to bring your kid to, and we will take them with arms wide open. We love middle and high school students.
And you know what I especially like too is the number of kids that you have, a lot of them, but they choose to come on their own sometimes, and they choose to bring their friends, and it's a place that they feel comfortable.
They belong. And we make sure we let them know this is where you belong. You matter to us. It's not just conditional love. We're going to show them unconditional love. Even if you mess up, even if you do something to make us angry, we're still in your corner. They need to know there's nothing they can do to make us not want to pursue them or love them any more or any less. So that's something that we hope you can go to our website, find a little bit more. You can even shoot me a personal email at timw@northhillschurch.com, and anything that our church can do to help serve the city of Greenville and the upstate, that is why we exist.
Well, thank you for being here.
Oh, gosh,
so what are we working on for next time?
Okay, next time we're going to talk about how to have those hard conversations and why we need to have those hard conversations.
Yeah, it's not always easy, but boy, it changes everything in a relationship if you can just open up to one another, have that patience, and show that undeniable love.
Yeah, middle schoolers, they want to have fun, but they also want to be taken seriously. And I think that'd be a great note to end on. They want to have fun, they're goofy, but they also want to be taken seriously. So what are things we can be doing to make them feel like we're taking them seriously? That will go a long way with them.
And I think we can go to the website and find out some interesting information, and then find out too how to get in touch with you and learn some more. So what was the name of the other of the website?
Oh, AliveStudentMinistry.com.
AliveStudentMinistry.com.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Back again.
Love
This is
it.
Heidi Aiken, and thank you for joining us on B93.7 and 98.9.
Way to go. And you even gave me my homework assignment for next month.
Yay!